In your book. So fasten your seatbelts. Today we're going to teach a lot. So in this chapter, you need to find out basically what is the property that you're appraising. So as an appraiser, you have to find out and define the problem. So defining the problem, it means that identify the property, and it's not only the property address. Okay, so you need to find out what are property legal description. So defining a problem, put a circle on legal description of the property. So because we have the municipal address, so defining a problem, identify the property, obtaining not only the municipal address, but also the full legal description of the property. So second one, you have to find what is the property rights, what type of real estate you're selling or you're basically appraising. So is it a fee simple? So if it's a fee simple, then you have a bundle of rights. So you should have a bundle of rights for fee simple. So what are the bundle of rights? Use, sell, lease, enter, give away, or refrain from any of these rights. So those are the bundle of rights. Okay, so associated with a fee simple. Then you're going to talk about what is the purpose of appraising a property. Write this down. The purpose of appraisal is not to put the value on the property. That's the meaning of appraising a property. In the exam, they say, which of the following is not one of the purposes of appraising a property? And the answer is putting a value on a property. Putting a value on a property is the meaning of appraising a property. That's not a purpose of doing an appraisal for a property. Yeah? Yeah, so that's a meaning of it. It's not a purpose of it. Am I correct? So what are the purposes? Put number 1 next to a transfer of ownership. Number 2, extension of credit. Number 3, compensation for damages. Okay. Number 4, taxation. Okay. And number 5 is on next page, which is the land use study. So there are 5 purposes of appraising a property. So next we're going to talk about what type of a value you're looking. So we have a market value, we have a value in use. So value, insurance value maybe you're looking. So, and then you have to ask the owner, what is the effective date that they're looking for? So what's the effective date of the contract? Okay. So again, effective date normally is today, but it could be in the past as well. So I appraise your house if I'm an appraiser, that how much is your property 5 years ago? Okay, or 2 years ago. So, and this has to come from the owner or their accountant or their lawyer. So this cannot be coming from the appraiser. So here, value is a result of an interaction of a forces of market. These conditions may change. So that's why we have to have an effective date. The next page, they ask you to write this question. What is the example that effective date could be different from appraisal date? So effective date could be like 2 days ago, and appraisal date is, whenever. So there is a question is asking when basically, here, the question is written there. What is the example that the effective date is different? Okay. So, and the answer is the highlight. So, evaluation of for marriage separation, where the effective date might be the date of separation. So, maybe you're going to court because of the, a divorce. So, and then the judge wants to know how much was the value of your house when you got separated. So, you got separated 2 years ago. And the judge wants to know how much was the value of your property 2 years ago. So they could, if the effective date has to come from your lawyer or your accountant or yourself. The appraiser cannot tell you what's the effective date here. It is important to note that it's not the appraiser's job to decide the effective date. That should come from the client or client's lawyer or accountant. That's in the exam. Okay. For example, this says his accountant asked an appraiser. That's assumption and limiting condition. So at the end of the appraiser report, legal title is gonna, so basically we are assuming the title is valid. So what happens here is that the appraiser is not telling you the title is valid. They say if the title is valid, the value of this house is this much. So legal title, no warranty by the appraiser concerning the title validity. So they don't say if it's valid or not. If it's valid, it's this much. And then example, the appraiser is unable to inspect the whole house due to tenancy. So let's say one bedroom in the basement was rented and the tenant didn't allow the appraiser to see this house. So that's going to be written in a limiting condition part of that appraisal report. Next, we're going to talk about the next highlight. Don't read anything in between, guys. So please don't read a lot because this exam is very easy when you read enough. It becomes hard when you read too much. Okay? So only read what's in the exam, not more. Now we're going to go to this chapter 3, neighborhood. How do you know if a property is in a good neighborhood? What is your definition of a good neighborhood or bad neighborhood? Exactly. So people who live, put a circle on that, people who live in the neighborhood, they basically they make that neighborhood a good or bad, you know? So, Brampton, you guys good? Okay, good. Let's move on. Boundaries. So what are the neighborhood boundaries? So we have different types of boundaries. We have natural, so like a river, political, like the municipal, and man-made, like a railroad. So again, it's very hard to put a neighborhood boundary, but again, some people, they say, okay, between this and this, that's the neighborhood. Neighborhood is different than municipality. For example, guys, Thornhill area, Thornhill neighborhood. What municipality it is? Again, it's Markham and Vaughan. Okay, both of them, it's Thornhill. Okay, so again, it's not maybe in one city even. Sometimes the neighborhood is in two different cities. So read this ones. I'm not saying they're not important. This is in the exam, neighborhood life cycle. So the first one is a growth phase. Put number 1 here. So the first one is a growth phase. So growth phase, thank you. So this is a neighborhood it's a brand new neighborhood, like, you know, from 0 to maximum 10 years. So I here to generalize and put a number on it, but this neighborhood is brand new houses, growth phase. A lot of activity happens there, guys. So a lot of investors. So it's good as a real estate salesperson to be in this neighborhood. They are very modern new houses. Okay. Now, then it goes to stability. Let's say 10 to 25 years neighborhood. The neighborhood that's a 10 to 25 years is a stable. Not many sales happening over there. People that they bought, they live there. Once in a while, once someone is going to sell. No problem. That's a stable neighborhood. Now, let's say from 25 to, I don't know, 60 years. Okay? So that's a declining phase. They're not going to tear them down. They're still good houses. They do a lot of renovation, but you know, they're not as good anymore. They're going down on the not the value, but on the type of the house. Then it goes back to renewal. So let's say, I don't know, 60 to 100 years. So then it goes back to growth back. They tear them down and then they're going to build again. So this is a cycle. You have to know the order. So in the exam, they're going to say first is a growth phase and then is a declining. That's wrong. So at first is growth, then stability, then decline, and then renewal. Okay, so you have to know the order. Okay? Land versus site. Guys, what's the difference between land and site? They're almost the same. Land is a surface of the earth. So site is a surface of earth which has subdivided and serviced. So site has some services to it. So site, on the other hand, is a parcel of land that has been subdivided and serviced to some degree. So it could be used for a purpose. Now, factors affecting the value of a site. First is a location, then is a legal, then is physical, and this economical. Okay, so there are 4 factors of the value. So let's move on. One by one, we're going to review. First is the physical factor, which is a site dimension. So the frontage and depth. But frontage is more important than the depth of the land. Now, on the next page, it's very important. This is definitely in the exam. They're going to talk about assemblage and plottage. Okay, guys, just give me a second. So imagine that, listen, this land you bought at 500,000, this land 500,000, and this land 500,000. How much you paid? 1.5 million and a half. Am I correct? Now, after you put them together and put the one value, it still is a 1.5 or even less, 1.4, 1.3. So that's assemblage. You're putting value of the houses together, but the combined value is the same or less. Now, if the combined value goes up, that's a plottage. So plottage is assemblage that the value increases. So that's a plottage at the bottom of the page. So it's 500, 500, 500, and now it's 2 million. That's plottage. This is definitely in the exam. These two, they're definitely in the exam. Excess land. What's your question? Assemblage. Now we're going to go excess land, your backyard. If my house is 50 foot by 200 foot, so let's say value is 2 million. Now, but what if it's 50 foot by 400 foot? Is it going to be 4 million? No. The backyard, it's excess land. I have to cut the, grass, so it's not as valuable. Now, legal and governmental factors. The most important one is the private restriction. So if there is a restriction on your house, is going to be affecting the value. So imagine I have a land which is residential, commercial, and industrial. I severance and I sell half of it to you. You guys with me? So, but I put a private restriction before I sell it to you that you can only use it as a residential. You can't use it commercial. You can't use it industrial. Only residential. Is that going to affect the value of your property or not? Yes. It probably is going to go down. Yeah. But that is a private restriction. Now, easement. Easement is a small intrusion to your land. So that, this is the right of way of passing from your land. So obviously, if there is easement on your land, that's going to be affected negatively. And if you gave an easement on your land, that's going to affect it. If you have the right, it's going to affect it positively. Okay. Not very important, just know it. So let's move on. Encroachment. This is a small intrusion to your land. Like your neighbor put a shed and the shed came 2 feet by 4 feet to your land. Is that going to affect the value? Obviously. Economic factors. So guys, tax burden is the most important one. So the higher the tax rate in your city, the lower the value of that city. So the most tax rates in GTA is by Oshawa. The city of Oshawa and city of Aurora, they have the highest tax rate. So that's going to affect the value of the houses over there. Environmental issues. So if your land has a contamination, so like lead, like a gasoline, okay, so that's going to affect the value of your land. So there are 3 phases of environmental test. You need to know them. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1, put a circle on visual inspection, owner's document. If they ask you in which phase, they're going to find out if the property has a contamination. The answer is phase 1. So in phase 1, they suspect if the property has a contamination or not. So phase 2 is a various test to find out how much contamination they have. A lot of people answer this question wrong. They say in which phase, you're going to determine if there's a contamination. And then because they have the various tests in phase 2, they think it's phase 2. That's not correct. In phase 1, you're going to find out if there is a reason to believe that this property has a contamination. Phase 2, various tests. Phase 3, remedial steps and cost. So what do you have to do to clean it up and how much is going to cost you? That's going to be in phase 3. So there's 3 phases of the audit. Next, they're going to explain to you the stigma value. This is 110% in the exam. They're going to tell you how much you bought the property and how much you sold it and how much you lost because of that. So you bought $350, but then you found out that it's contaminated and you sold it $175. So you lost $175. But the cost of cleaning it up, it was only $100,000. So the question is, what is the cost of a stigma? Write the question here. What is the cost of a stigma? How much you lost more because people didn't want to deal with this property, basically. Collecting information. So let's move on. Something is wrong, don't guess. Don't say inshallah is okay. Okay, so make sure that everything is okay. If don't say, okay, the water, for example, you say you suspect that the water is contaminated or of a poor quality. Your suspicions could come as a result of an odor, discoloration of water, strange taste of water, repeated sickness in the family, buildup of minerals, and industry or land filled in that area. So don't guess. Go and investigate. Is the water contaminated or not? So done with this chapter. I don't know why they call it a chapter, but let's move on. So there's a lot of math that I don't teach from the book. I teach it from the handout. And one of the math questions about the economic life of a building, which is after how many years this building is going to be worthless from the day they build it. So again, we're going to talk about that in math. Remaining economic life is how many years left from its life. So economic life is from the day it was built. So after how many years is going to be worthless? So let's say 67 years. Remaining economic life is how many years is left. In the exam, sometimes they give you very easy questions from this. They say a roof has an economic life of 25 years, but effective age is 10 years. What is the remaining economic life? 15. So 25 minus 10 is 15. So sometimes it's very easy questions. So actual age, we don't care. So how old it is, it doesn't matter. So how it looks it matters, which is effective age. Because maybe it has a lot of renovations. So then So maybe actual age is 20 years, but then the effective age is, 15 years because it had some renovations. A couple of weeks ago, I'm talking to one of my friends, and we are talking about a lady that's very successful in Vaughan, okay? And she looks like in 20s. I'm not joking. She's like very young, okay, for her. And I am telling her that, listen, telling my friend, look, that young lady, she's so successful in Vaughan, and you could be this. You know how old is she? No, she's 40. I said, no way. She's like 25. No, she's 40, but she had a lot of renovation. So, over improve. I'm sorry? I don't think it's an over improvement. Yeah, that was an over improvement. No. Over improvement is when you spend too much money in the house. So, it's, so. Economic life minus effective age. Yeah, then you look like really bad. That's over improved. Anyway, let's move on, guys. Maybe a bad example, but so yeah. Let's not go there. Okay, knowing when it's not in the exam. It's not in the exam. Knowing when to get the professional help, reality check. Again, read this. I don't have anything from here, guys. This common elements and concerns. Again, I'm not saying it's not in the exam. I just don't have a question from there. I'm just going to go to the questions, tell you what's in the exam, and then let you go. So I don't want to waste your time more than you should in this class. So, incorporating the subject part, similar homes have this. So this is a direct comparison approach. Basically, how you put a value based on the other houses that recently sold in that area. That's math. I don't teach the math from this handout. I'm just going to go. This is actually in the exam. So this is a theory question that's in the exam. Write it down. What the beginning of the statement? What is the essentials of good comparable? What are the essentials of good comparable sales? This is in the exam, definitely. What are the essentials of a good comparable sales? So when you're picking a comparable to your house, which house should you pick? So number one, put next to the first dot, it says that the sale should be on or as close as possible to date of evaluation. So the most recent, basically. Number two, it should be located within the subject neighborhood. You can't compare a house in Richmond Hill to Newmarket, okay, or Richmond Hill to Toronto. It has to be physical in nature. You can't compare a two-story to bungalow. And shouldn't be a family or Oklahoma deal. It shouldn't be someone bought a house from their parents. So it should be arm's length transaction. Arm's length transaction means no family deals, no Oklahoma deals, no fraud, no bank sale. Yep. You should not include underpriced listings too, because sometimes, once in a while, something sells really cheap. Okay? So, for whatever reason. So, you shouldn't include that. So, what are the signs of a property that's underpriced? These are the signs. These are the signs that you shouldn't include that. Seller's under financial pressure. The seller is moving within 3 weeks. The buyer is being relocated. The buyer is desperate to buy. The seller has already bought another house. The buyer has sold their houses. So these are the stress kind of situation. So you shouldn't include these sales in your comparables. Now, we're going to talk about the location. You have to do a location adjustment. Maybe your house is backing to the park, but the other one is backing to cemetery. You can't say it's the same. Park and cemetery, they're not the same. A lot of people, they say, oh, Bob, my neighbors are very quiet. I'm happy with them. But then the buyers are not happy. You understand? I heard this a lot of time. Bob, cemetery is like a park. Cemetery is not a park. Okay, so published statistic method. This is, now, if you want to do a time adjustment, and if they say that the house sold 1 year ago, and in the last year the prices went up 10%, we used to do this in course 2. Course 2, we are using this method, but this method is not as good as the method I'm going to teach you in this course. So in this course, we're not going to use the published statistic method. Why? Because this published statistic method is covering every different type of property. Maybe the condo values went up last year, but the house values went down this year. So the average or the median is covering everything. So there is a question in the exam, which you could write it down here. What is the problem? So it's just with what is before this statement. The problem with the published statistic method. And the highlight is the answer. The average or median price may include all different types of housing. Just what is? Yeah. And the highlight is the answer. So the average or median price may include all different types of housing. Condos, freehold, two-story, bungalow, and so on. So that's what we use in this course is a sell and resell method. This is it. So the resell method. Something sold and sold again. So that's going to affect the value. So let's say you want to put a house, you have a house, and a house in your area sold and again resold. So it sold twice. So then new minus old divided by old, push percentage is going to give you the answer. We're going to teach you this in theory, in math. So this is, so clearly the closer time frame, so it's better. So you choose the most recent cell to your subject. This is all math. I'm not going to teach math here, so don't worry about this. Reconciliation. This is the 7th step of appraising a property, and in this step, the appraiser is going to arrive at the appraisal price. So if they're asking you, what's the name of the step that appraiser is going to arrive at the appraisal price is step 7, and it is reconciliation. Step 8 is writing the report. So the answer is step 7 and reconciliation. So at this step, it's going to say, in my opinion, the value of your house is this much. So done with this beautiful chapter. I want you to do the exercise 1 on page 149. Exercise 1. I want you to practice this one. Exercise 2. Exercise 3. And 8. Only do those ones, okay, guys? And you're gonna be okay. So don't do anything else. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is a cost approach. I'm going to teach this from there. This is the only chart you're going to get in the exam. The rest of the charts, you have to memorize them in cost approach, which I teach you next Saturday. I teach you the cost approach Sunday. Next Sunday, we're going to do the cost approach. First, you have to find the land value. So now, in course 2, they were showing you comparative sales method. So you're going to compare your land to another land that's recently sold. But what if you're in an area that there's no land? So you can't do this. Am I correct? You may be able to do this in Richmond Hill because there are a lot of land similar to your land in Richmond Hill. What about Toronto? There's no land. There are only houses, next to my house. So I can't use the comparative sales method. And that's a question in the exam, which I'm going to explain to you. So the question is, so what is the advantage of the abstraction method? Abstraction method, the property, recently a bungalow, let's say, next to my house sold, and I minus the land building value and minus the other improvement to get the land value. This method is used, and it is basically when there is insufficient number or no comparative site sales. So because you can't find anything, and this is more practical. So we use this one when there's no basically land sold in your area. So we have to use the abstraction method. This is the one you need to learn in this course. In course 2, they were giving you the comparative sales method, but in this one you have to use the abstraction method. I'm going to teach you this. So, then about the reconstruction. If you want to build brand new, there are two parts. Cost service method, or they call it manuals. They're going to tell you how much it's going to cost you to build brand per square foot, for example. But that it was course 2. They were telling you the replacement cost. In this course, we use the comparative square meter method. So you have to learn the second one in this course. In this course, we're not going to use the first one to get the reconstruction cost. So write down, what is the advantage of the comparative square meter method? Write it down. What is the advantage? So just put what is the advantage. So what is there before this advantage? Or what are the advantages? So, and the answer is the highlight. There is more practical with new construction. Curable items. These are the items that make sense to fix them in the house. So let's say the roof of your house is not good anymore. Are you going to tear the house down? So you're going to change the roof. So because that's curable. But let's say the foundation in your house is totally gone. Are you going to, go and change the foundation? No, because it doesn't make sense. You can do it, but you have to spend $300,000 in a house that's not worth it $300,000. That's not curable. So they call it incurable, which is a long-lived, So they call it short-lived. Short-lived is like a roof. Long-lived like a foundation. Chapter 9. So, I have a good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? The bad news is I don't know what's a question. The good news is I know there's a question from here. They're going to ask you what are the advantage and disadvantage of each method. You have to memorize it. This is definitely in the exam. Have you heard the joke? The doctor tells to his patient, I have a bad news and good news. Which one do you want to hear first? And the doctor says that, the patient says, so give me the good news first. Says the good news is that you have a very bad cancer. You're going to die within a week. And then the doctor says, so the patient says, so what's the bad news then? And the doctor says, I'm sorry, I should have called you last week. I forgot. Come on, guys. Work with me. So, let's move on. So, you could put a price 2 to 3% more. and that's not overpricing. But if you put more than that, like 5-10% more, that's overpricing. The question on next page, it says, what are the problems with the overpriced property? What are the problems? You have the exam, yeah? So what is the problem? What is
So it's gonna be in the market.
So what? Be in the market. Is that the only problem?
They're going to think that something's seriously wrong with it, and then the buyer's going to have all the power.
So buyer's going to have a power, and then they're going to justify buying another house, comparing it to your house. You're going to help the others sell and get. People are not going to even show it because it's not in the right price range. You have to read all of it. Okay, so even after you reduce it, people are going to think that maybe something was wrong with the property. Chapter 10. Now we're going to 9. 9. This is a newer highlight. It was about the valuing a condominium. What is it that important? Collecting information about that condominium is important, especially about the property management. So if that property manager is a reputable, good property management, so then you could put the value higher because you know that it's not gonna. He's not going to. The price is not going to go down, basically. So because the maintenance is not going to go up. So one of the best property management companies is a Dell Property Management. Okay, guys. So Dell. So it's for Tridel. Yeah. They're very good. So and property management, we did it. Maintenance fee, as if the maintenance fee goes up, so the value of your condo is going to be affected negatively. Special assessment, that's the worst thing could happen to your condo. If they put a special assessment, the value of your property suddenly 1/3 drops. So because you're paying like $500 a month, you have to pay another $500 to raise the reserve fund. That's going to kill the value of your condo. But it happens. I've seen it happen. Kill and Wilson, yeah. Anything has kill in it. I don't want to get involved. I know. Kill.
You have to pay extra $800 a month.
I know. That's what I don't want to go there. Kill. Jane. Huh?
But I don't know if it's lately, but it was a few years ago. They have a parking lot.
No, that was another one. That was a brand new one.
Yeah. This is the one that used to be a hotel, and they turned it into a condo.
So, apartment building. So, if you're appraising apartment building, what is it that you're going to look more? What school is going? What's a college nearby?
Sorry, what page is that?
I don't know.
This is
254. So, if it's an office building, you look at the banks, lawyers, accountants. So if it's a retail, you look at the population of that area, income level of people around that shopping center. Industrial, you don't care to any of it. You just see the road transportation and railway. So it's each important and it's in the exam. Owner-occupied property, write the question down. What is the problem with appraising an industrial? What is the problem with appraising an industrial owner-occupied property? What is the problem with appraising an industrial owner-occupied property? And the answer is the highlight. Often the only approach can be used as a cost approach. Put a circle on the cost approach. So because the guy is not paying income to himself, so you can't do an income approach. You can't do the direct comparison approach because there's nothing comparable to it. So the only thing you could do is a cost approach. That's a problem. Cost approach. Potential annual gross income. So you have to get what potentially could be selling. So this is the income approach, guys. Again, I teach this from the handout. It's a lot easier than teach from there than teaching from here. Overall capitalization rate, all of that I teach it from Math, any math, we're going to teach this. So, but I want you to do the exercise 4. Exercise 5. I think that's it. And that's a beautiful smile. Okay, so you're done with all of this. So all you have to do is to study more the highlighted part of the book. Just read the questions I give you more and go past the exam. Okay, so math. Let's do some math.
Yeah.
Okay, so open the handout I gave you. What's your question, Ramton? You have a question? Okay, so what's your question? Page number, question number.
Page number 19, question 26.
1926. So, what's the question? Can you tell me? So, if you go back, they say this one sold 272 on the 20th of March. Yeah, how much is going to be the time adjustment today? So, March and now, new, which is 259, 320, minus old, 247, 350, divide by old, 247, 350. Push percentage. How much it is? New minus old divided by old. 259, 320 minus 247, 350 divided by 247, 350. Push percentage. And that's going to be 4.84% that the price went up. How much is sold? Two what? 270?
272.
Multiplied by 4.84%. 272,000 multiplied by 4.84%. So that's going to be 22. Hold on, let me see. I'm not making a mistake, guys. 272,000 multiplied by 4.84%. So that's 13,165, which is plus. A.
Page 22.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have a question on it. Average price September 17th. What does that date have to do with it? When over here it says that it's...
Because now it's September 17th. This one sold in 20th March. Now it's September 17th.
How would we know that that's...
They give it to you. Read. Read the question. Okay. So, question.
Page 22, question 32.
32. So, what is the question again? So, you need to know what is the value on improvement on the property. So, here. So, that's a question. Value of improvement on a property. That's a question. First, I'm going to read the question. Yes?
Yeah.
Did you understand the question? So, first of all, is a driveway they have. So the driveway, effective age is 6, and the remaining is 24. Am I correct? Talk to me. Look at me.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
So you have to divide 6 by 30, multiply by this, and that's going to give you the depreciation. Am I correct?
Okay, I divided by 24.
So now, look at the next one. So the next one, they say effective is 5. Look at here. And then 25 years is a life expectancy. So you don't add this one because they give you the total. So in this one, you have to say, okay, it's 5 divided by 25, multiplied by that. So you didn't add this one because they didn't give you the remaining. So a lot of people, they make a mistake on this one. They say, okay, 25 is a life expectancy, the total, not the remaining. And the last one, it doesn't have a depreciation. So
Bob, that's where I'm getting all confused with the
life expectancy, remaining life expectancy.
Okay.
If they give you life expectancy, you don't have to add. If they give remaining, you have to add to effective. Here, effective age plus the remaining life expectancy is going to give you the life expectancy.
But they call them so many different names, I'm getting all confused.
Effective, they call it remaining life expectancy or economic life. Economic life is the same as a life expectancy.
Okay, so effective doesn't have another name.
No.
Remaining has economic as well.
So remaining life expectancy or remaining economic life is the same thing. Tomato, tomato. You could confuse yourself or you could not confuse. That's your
Life
choice.
expectancy,
Is a economic life.
life expectancy.
Is the same as economic life. Two different names.
Remaining is
Remaining economic life is the same as a remaining life expectancy.
how can that be? If we have remaining life here and life expectancy at the end, how's that?
So we have remaining life expectancy. How many years left from the life of your house? So that's the same as saying that remaining economic life. Expectancy is the same as the remaining economic life. And life expectancy is the same as the economic life. Question. Go.
37, page 24.
Yeah, 37. What's the question?
Just calculate the value of the property.
So by above information. So basically, so you can only compare apple to apple, orange to orange. So this one sold 9 million, how much? 420,000. How many units it has? How many square foot it has? So if you divide this by this, that's going to give you the value per square foot. Am I correct? So just multiply it by the square foot of your building. And that's going to give you your value.
That's what you call the gift, right?
Gift?
The gift, the exam. Because it's
Yeah.
apples to apples, oranges to
Yeah, apple, a square foot to square foot. So this unit is extra. That's extra information. Everything else is extra information. So this 9,420,000 divide by 66,200 multiply by 69,250. That's going to give you the answer.
that one I get.
Question. Brampton, you guys are on holidays? Okay, so what did you do from last week to today? You just closed the handout. You came today. Oh, it's Sunday. Bob is crazy enough to come long weekend. So let's go to his class and pretend that we understand everything. Is that it? Okay, yes, they say yes. Come on, question.
Guys, do you mind if we go through that question number 32 again? With the fence in the driveway?
You do it at home. Come on. It's easy. You just have to not. If you want to confuse yourself, I cannot help you. If you want to understand it, just read the question, try answering it, and then come here and I'll try. And if you couldn't do it, I'll help you. Okay? But you can't just say, I don't understand it. If you say, I don't understand it, you don't.
So what's the formula for that? If you
What's the formula of depreciation? Go to the page 2 of your handout. Page 2. Second page. What's the formula for depreciation?
Okay, so it's effective
Divided by economic,
economic
multiply by replacement cost. That's going to give you depreciation. And then whatever is the depreciation, you have to minus it from the replacement cost.
Okay, that part I know.
Yeah, so
It's this part here that I'm getting stuck in, Bob. Like
so they
instead
say effective and they give remaining life expectancy. They're the same thing. So if you add these two together, they're going to get the economic life or the life
But this
expectancy.
is where I go wrong. I end up doing this like the lady was doing before, the other lady. She, instead of doing the 25, she did a different amount. That's where I'm getting confused.
So because you're not adding, this is the formula. Effective divided economic life. Or they call this one life expectancy. It's the same thing.
I don't know why I can't wrap my head around this.
Because you say you can't.
Okay, I can't.
So you can go to try your best and you're going to be able to do it. When you say I don't understand it, you're building a block in front of you so that you cannot understand it. But this is very simple. Okay? You can understand it. Just use the formula I gave you over there. There is a saying in Turkish, say hoşçakal.
What is it?
It says hoşçakalın.
What does that
It
mean?
means, good day. Have a good day. Have a good Easter.
No, it doesn't. What does it mean?
It means goodbye.
Oh, okay. In other words, get lost.
No. Okay, guys in Brampton, make sure the door is closed. The back is actually, closed. So you leave.